On this day of remembrance, this is a story of my unsung hero. I was in the locker room, and I was seeing all the kids from my entire ninth grade class fill it. And I was half nervous and half feeling like I was Xena the Princess Warrior and it was about to go down. Now, I was thinking to myself, how did I get here? How does an honor student end up in her first fight with someone whose name she didn't even bother to learn? And then I realized it was kind of all my fault. See, when I started out high school, I was at another school, and I was about to be moved up to varsity cheerleading, and I was really excited. I had all my friends, and school was the one thing that really brought me joy. The thing was that I was there illegally. You see, my mom had moved us across the street from the high school over the summer, not knowing that it was in a different school district. And so I was using a fake address until my mom found out that there would be a $10,000 fine, and so she quickly put me on the bus to the other school. Now, the problem with this other school was that it was a 30-minute drive away. Ninth grade was still middle school. The cheerleading team there was still doing routines from the 60s, and I was the only kid in my advanced algebra class. So every day I showed up miserable, angry, and a bit of a snob, to be honest. And so this one girl decided that she was going to take me down a couple notches, and she announced that the next day she was going to fight me in the locker room right before gym class. And so I understood that this was a problem, and I appreciated that she at least gave me a warning, but this was not exactly a test that I could study for. Now, you have to remember, this was pre-internet, so I couldn't just binge YouTube tutorials on how not to get my ass kicked. And so I did the only thing I could think of. I called my older sister. Now, I don't know how I thought she could really help me, because at the time she was 17 years old, pregnant, living at my dad's house in the inner city. But she had been in her fair share of fights, and she had been fighting me all my life, so she knew I didn't know how to throw any punches. So I figured I'd listen to what she had to say. So the first thing she told me was, number one, wear sneakers. Now, this was important because I was one of those girls who only wore dress shoes to school every day, so noted. Number two, she said, wear your hair up in a high bun. Now, this was the 90s in New Jersey, and so big hair was still everywhere, and so this was also a very important detail. Next, she told me not to wear any jewelry except for rings on my fingers, and as many of them as I could get my hands on. And then the last tidbit she threw in there, she said, please remember to put some Vaseline on your cheeks, because if she gets one in there, you want it to just slide right off. And I thought to myself, my sister is a genius. Now, she wasn't really known for her academics, but what she lacked in book smarts, she had double in street smarts. And so I did everything she told me to do, and I showed up the next day, and everybody noticed, because I looked like a completely different person. I looked like all her friends. I had become super chonga. And so I'm in the locker room, and I'm anticipating, and I'm waiting, and I'm getting really nervous, and I feel the door swing open, and it bangs against the wall, and here she comes with great urgency. It was the gym teacher, and she shut everything down. All the kids went scurrying out of the room like rats in the night, and she comes up to me, and she's like, "Are you okay?" Apparently, I was in the midst of having a panic attack, and she sent me to the nurse's office for the rest of the day. And I really felt like I lost a little bit of my street cred at that moment, but I did enough to have that girl leave me alone for the rest of the year. And so that teacher became my hero. But in all honesty, the true hero was my sister, because she taught me how to show up to adversity and to face my fears on that day. But little did I know that in the years to come, she would need to follow her own advice. You see, for 5 years, she was battling a disease that was taking over her brain and slowly pulling away every function that she had. And she had to face that adversity to show her son not to live in fear. And so in dying, what I learned from her was not only how to fight, but how to live. Thank you.